What's up? I'm going to be talking about AP Chemistry Topic 2.1, which are the types of bonds, and I'll be focusing on covalent bonding today. Alright, so what exactly is a covalent bond? A covalent bond is a bond between two elements from the top right of the periodic table, usually nonmetals. And what's special about covalent bonding is that instead of having an electron being transferred to another element, we're just going to share that electron and have that count towards both of their octets. And what allows covalent bonding to exist in the first place is due to the small difference between the electronegativity of the two elements. So some examples of covalent bonds can really just be like any of the nonmetals that are on the top right of the periodic table. And some notable examples can be carbon and oxygen, nitrogen and oxygen, fluorine and oxygen. Alright, but with that being said though, there are types of covalent bonds. So it's going to be a branch under covalent bonding, and we're going to have two types of covalent bonds that do exist, and one is polar covalent bonds and the second one is non-polar covalent bonds. And this stems from the reason being that there is going to be varying types of electronegativity differences, and to account for those differences we classify them under polar and non-polar covalent bonds, and each have their own unique properties. So for polar covalent bonds, there's going to be a large difference in the electronegativity, but not so much that it would turn it into an ionic bond, for example. So we can have things like hydrogen and fluorine and hydrogen and chlorine that would be classified as polar covalent bonds because of how big that difference is. But on the other hand, we have non-polar covalent bonds, and that can be between element and itself or something close to it, like nitrogen and oxygen. So some characteristics of covalent compounds is that electrons are shared, and that's because covalent compounds are made of covalent bonds, and covalent compounds have low melting and boiling points due to this, but are also weak electrolytes, which means that they don't ionize completely or don't ionize at all when they dissolve into water, and that is attributed to the covalent compound having covalent bonds, which doesn't involve the electron transfer of one element to the other like we see in ionic bonding. And yeah, so they can either be polar or non-polar, and like we discussed, it is due to the electronegativity difference and how big that is, which determines the solubility of the covalent compound, because like dissolves like. And finally, covalent compounds have bonds that are weaker than ionic bonds, but bonds that are stronger than intermolecular forces that I'll get into in a future video.